Man-made satellites have been one of the most important inventions that we have come to rely upon in the past few decades. They form the backbone of communications, weather monitoring, and navigation systems. So it's understandable that by the beginning of 2022, there were around 8,300 satellites orbiting the Earth, with a few hundred orbiting other large bodies such as the Moon and Mars. But what happens when these satellites stop working or are hit by a tiny asteroid and break apart? They are then classified as space debris or space junk and can cause damage to other satellites. In fact, of the 8,300 satellites that are orbiting the Earth, only 58% are functional, meaning that around 3,500 pieces of metal are just orbiting the Earth with no use. This forms part of the 23,000 pieces of space debris larger than a softball. But why does this matter? Why should we be concerned? Well, to start with, these pieces orbit the Earth up to roughly 28,000 kilometers per hour, which can cause serious damage to spacecrafts and other satellites. At the moment, this space debris only affects other satellites in orbit, but it could pose a problem to space exploration efforts in the future. The Kessler syndrome was an idea proposed by NASA scientist Donald Kessler in 1978, saying that at a critical point there would be a chain reaction of space debris colliding with other satellites, resulting in more space debris. Although possibly an extreme situation, this would make the Earth's orbit unusable, and the route to getting to this point is by introducing more satellites into orbit, which introduces us to Starlink. Everyone knows of Elon Musk, and many know of his idea to launch Starlink to provide global internet coverage. The idea is great, but will eventually require up to 42,000 satellites to achieve the desired internet coverage over the next few decades. By September 2022, Starlink managed to put over 3,000 satellites into orbit. These numbers are almost unbelievable considering the 8,300 satellites previously mentioned. Needless to say, the increased amount of satellites introduces more collision avoidance maneuvers that have to take place. And although SpaceX says that their collision avoidance system will be capable of avoiding these collisions with a 10x lower probability of collision than the industry standard, the likes of NASA disagree, saying that some collisions won't be totally avoidable, and that SpaceX's claims lack statistical substantiation. Collision avoidance maneuvers are not entirely automatic, and sometimes require manual intervention. And with more satellites being launched, more manual maneuvers could eventually lead to a mistake or wrong decision, which could have an effect on the orbital environment for many years to come. Hugh Lewis is the head of the Astronautics Research Group at the University of Southampton and has been tracking the close encounters of satellites since Starlink was launched in 2019. And by mid-2021, Starlink satellites accounted for about 50% of these close encounters. Lewis predicts that when the 12,000 satellites of Starlink's first generation constellation have been launched, they will account for 90% of the close encounters, which poses a threat to other satellites. It's not only NASA that has issued warnings. China complained that its space station had to avoid Starlink satellites twice in late 2021. Elon doesn't seem too fazed about the situation, saying that space is just extremely enormous and satellites are very tiny, and that tens of billions of spacecrafts could orbit very close to Earth. He also mentioned, "This is not some situation where we're effectively blocking others in any way. We've not blocked anyone from doing anything, nor do we expect to." So what impact are we likely to see in the future? Apart from an increasing number of close collisions, nothing significant has happened yet. But Seamak Hessar, the CEO and co-founder of Cayenne Space, a company which develops commercial autonomous space traffic management systems, says, "The processes that are currently in place are very manual, not scalable, and there's not enough information sharing between parties that might be affected if a collision happens. So only time will tell what effect the Starlink satellites will have on space debris in the future. But according to experts, it doesn't seem that mega constellations of satellites have a place in Earth's orbit. There have been proposed ways in which space debris can be cleaned up, but that's a topic for another video. So let me know in the comments, do you think having a satellite monopoly in Earth's orbit is a good idea or not? And if you didn't know before, now you know.